manufacturing and operations, hosted by EthAum, Venture Partners, and Vision. This is Pankaj Gupta from EthAum Venture Partners. We are a deep tech accelerator and fund based in Singapore with approximately 90 startups in our portfolio. These startups are AI, ML, blockchain, IoT, robotics, AR, VR kind of startups coming from different geographies and serving different sectors, such as Industry 4.0, CPG, retail, BFSI, supply chain, healthcare, and so on and so forth. Today, we are hosting this panel in association with Vision, which is our new addition in the portfolio. Vision is a computer vision AI-powered platform that enables companies, especially CPG manufacturing and operations companies, making better sense out of that visual data and making sure that Vision platform is able to improve overall operational and manufacturing efficiency for the CPG manufacturing leaders. I have an extremely diverse panel with me. We have panelists from Europe, from India, from Singapore, and then obviously Kevin and Jorge, moderators and founders of the panel of the event, are based in the US. So I think this is a very diverse set of participation that we have over here. Now, without further delay, I would request Kevin to do a brief intro of Vision, and then I will request our panelists to do an introduction of themselves, of their organization, and then we will dive into the panel discussion. Kevin, please go ahead.
Thanks, Pankaj and Madhu for that matter. And we're thrilled to have this highly distinguished panel together. Both Jorge and I greatly appreciate your making time because we all know that time has become the ultimate currency, and we really appreciate your time. Very briefly, my background, just for context, is I got a BA in political science and did some graduate work at NYU and the University of Pennsylvania, the Wharton School. I ran the Western Hemisphere for Time Magazine and was publisher of Variety, the Entertainment Bible. I subsequently ran a few startups for leading VCs, Sequoia and NEA by name, and had a couple of successful exits along the way. And Jorge and I started working together about 6 years ago. So that's sort of my background. As far as Vision AI, it is, and you may know this from having been introduced already, but Vision AI is a B2B product that integrates cutting-edge computer vision and AI capabilities to improve efficiencies at retail, manufacturing, and industrial verticals. The product runs on existing IP cameras or CCTV systems, which makes the solution cost-effective to implement and very easy to use because any plant or scenario has CCTV cameras sort of already implemented, so they can take advantage of the product very readily.
Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Okie doke. Back to you.
Thanks a lot. Sanjeev, quick introduction, please.
Hi, good morning, good evening. My name is Sanjeev. I lead CPG practice for Tech Mahindra. Worked with multiple leading, system integrators like of HCL's, Tech Mahindra, and so on. Helping our CPG customers to build a very innovative solutions, especially around the supply chain, ERP, customer experience, and so on. Glad to connect with all of you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Sanjeev. Appreciate it. Andre?
My name is Andre. I'm with operations for Pernod Ricard Minsk. It's Belarus, Eastern Europe. So for me, great honor to be with you guys today. So hope have a great discussion about future of innovations and operations, because I think last few years show us that operations and also manufacturing should have better look from other departments, just because big problems and big gaps can be there. So I think new solutions is a way of development here. So hope for great discussion. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Andre. Ganesh?
Yeah, hey. Good morning, good evening all. Very happy to be here on this panel. I'm Ganesh, and I currently work for Dematic as a global project engineering director in India. And in my past, I was heading the FMCG delivery when I was working for LIT Tech Services. I'm very happy to be here and share my insights with the other panelists who are coming with rich knowledge. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Ganesh. And by the way, you have a fantastic voice for radio jockey. You could be a fantastic voice artist.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I'll move on to Aditya. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi all. My name is Aditya Vikram. So I head operations for India's only stevia company. Stevia is a natural sweetener. I'm sure you guys are now using it more extensively. The company's name is Arboreal. We sell our stevia by the name of Arboreal Stevia. It is India's only vertically integrated supply chain company for stevia. We grow our own stevia, we extract our own stevia, and we sell it to many countries and also domestically. I head the supply chain operations for Easy Buy Ingredients, which is a B2B e-commerce platform for food ingredients. Our mainstay is natural sweeteners, sugar replacement and sugar reduction solutions. And we also have a D2C brand by Magic Leaf, of which I am also looking at the fulfillment part of it. Thanks. I'm glad to be here today, and I hope to add to the talk. And I'm glad to be in the company of such experienced people from the industry. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Aditya. And I'm also equally excited to see what we are going to discuss today and what kind of insights we are going to get from, again, this extremely diverse panel. Now, I would request Kevin to take out some sizzling hot questions from his pocket and get some really amazing insights from our panel. Please, Kevin.
Of course, thanks, Pankaj. So maybe to start just a slight preamble, there's no surprise to any of us that some of the critical issues facing CPG manufacturing are supply chain instability, the need to improve plant operations, adapting to accelerated technology and digital transformation, skills gap, turnover rates, data security issues, and of course, environment and sustainability. Each of these areas have multi-billion-dollar implications based on improvement. However, I think Jorge and I hope, and Pankaj and Madhu, that we can narrow our focus today to new technologies, which we've just talked about to a degree, and specifically innovation and disruption through AI and computer vision. Again, Jorge and I can't thank you enough for making time to be with us. If I may, I'd love to start with Ganesh with a question, if I may. What do you see as the most painful challenges that CPG leaders are facing today or these days, if I may?
Oh, sure. I think it's a very interesting question. Thanks, Kevin, for that. So typically, how I would put it is the top few challenges which are haunting the CPG industry are the supply chain disruptions and typically the consumer-based challenges and, of course, the inflation. And when I mean by consumer-based challenges, we are talking of the changes in consumer behavior, drastically changing behavior of the consumers. They are demanding more of sustainability. They are looking at brand values with the brands they are associated with. And of course, certain other challenges like omni-channel sales. They don't want to stick to a single channel of, okay, earlier I used to just go to an offline store, a brick and mortar store, but now I'm more keen in, looking at either a mobile-based application or through websites, or sometimes I do prefer. So companies who have been successful in integrating seamlessly all these three platforms of sales, they have been more successful. And the changes in consumer behavior is also, closely related to the inflation. In the last couple of years, people have cut down on their own consumption. They are looking at more value for money, more waste minimization, which adds to the, the total chaos that the system of CPG goes through. And another trend, which is also kind of, a challenge for any CPG leader is the green consumerism. People have become very aware. Consumers are extremely aware these days. So they look at, how sustainable my supply chain operations is when I'm going to buy something. If I'm buying a product XYZ, if I'm buying a cola drink, do I really look at their supply chain efficiency in terms of whether they are looking at a net positive water, or a net carbon zero footprint, all of these things. So these are the things which are typically, haunting the supply chain of CPG industries, and the industries who have been able to, live very close to the sustainability and environment friendly supply chain operations, they have typically grown by 20-25% over the last couple of years. And the biggest problem for us is the inflation. While CPG industries have grown, but the inflation is still a staggering 13% approximately, right? From manufacturing to shipping costs, everything is on the rise. And this has led to a overall price increase of about 3-4% to the end consumer. And because of this, there is a dip in the buying patterns. So all of them put together, I would look at an entire supply chain disruption which is coming in. And this is how I would summarize the top challenges which come to my mind, Kevin.
Thank you. Perfect. May I ask one follow-on question, just to what percent of business do you see as being brick and mortar today, and how will that change over the next few years?
So currently, in the past, when we were at the COVID era, everything was no brick and mortar. So we were almost at 90% of online, and it was working effectively. Companies like Amazon, Flipkart, all of them were thriving, and they were very much useful for the consumers sitting at home because of all these lockdowns. But now the consumers have slowly started going out. Ultimately, I would always look at a touch and feel, how I look at a buying experience, an immersive experience. So it is still on the rise, and I would put about, say, 60% is still offline brick and mortar stores and about 40% online. And this is going to radically shift. The balance is going to move the other side now.
Yes. And with your experience at Amazon, it's a highly qualified opinion, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may, Sanjeev, I'd love to sort of address a question to you, if I may. What are the innovations and new solutions in CPG manufacturing and operations that you see developing in the next few years, just to try to put a timeline on it, and those that you may be more excited about, just to try to put a period on the end of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you really look into what Ganesh mentioned, that there are obviously 3-4 areas where we have seen a lot of innovations which is going to happen. The one is that the way the brands are reaching out to consumers. So it is no longer a 1 or 2 channel. There are so many channels. And what is so important now for the brand is that to get the the right consumer insight, so that they can act accordingly. And in that sense, if you look the various channels, it is not just about the e-commerce, it goes beyond. So for example, to the dispensing machine or a vending machine or marketplace, there are so many things. And more importantly, as Ganesh mentioned, that it is not that everything is now online, it has gone back to offline as well. So a lot of innovations we are expecting to happen in the stores as well. And if I look into that, I think one technology which is definitely going to make a lot of difference is about the computer vision based analytics. We are working with a lot of beverages companies, and and they are coming up with this requirement. They wanted to understand the demographic profile of the consumers, what consumer is buying, where they are buying, what are the decision points for them to take the decisions. And I think that is going to make a significant difference. And I would, call that consumer, computer vision based analytics. That is going to be very, very key. The second thing is that while we are collecting the data from various sources, but ultimately we are putting pressure back to the manufacturings. And why it is so? Because every consumer is different, and then we want to build a lot of hyper personalizations in terms of product offering, which essentially means that the manufacturing has to undergo a lot of changes. If you look into a decade back, most of the brands are basically working on 2 aspects: building the brand image and then somehow reach that stock to the shelf. But this is not sufficient in today's world. If there are a lot of hyper personalization is going to happen in the marketplace, so the manufacturing also need to make changes. And I think that will have a lot of impact in the manufacturing processes. 2-3 technologies I'm sure it is going to explode. One is, of course, IT/OT based integration, so that the decision can be taken online quickly in the manufacturing processes. Even the computer vision based technologies is going to be helpful in manufacturing because now the consumers is looking for very high, level of qualities of the product. They have so much of information with the consumers that it is going to put pressure back to the brands to build high quality products. And we have seen a lot of innovation in that space as well. For one of our customers, for a car, they wanted to ensure that even a defect of 100 microns could be basically captured through the computer vision, and that is going to happen across the segments. So I think, again, in manufacturing space, IT/OT is going to play a very, very important role.
Great, absolutely, very thoughtful. Can I go back to your first point? Would you agree with the axiom that he who owns the data owns the business? In other words, data being critical to decision-making for all CPG manufacturers.
Absolutely. So if you look at traditionally how the CPG companies worked, they were dependent upon the retailers. So, so they were maintaining a, good relationship with the retailers to understand what is happening in the stores. But today, since the channels are many, they have to capture the data from the source. And I think that is very, very going to be critical. And that is where, most of the CPG companies are investing a lot. So data is going to be key, and not just capturing the data, but a clear insight out of that, and then ability for CPG or brands to act. I think that is going to be key.
Great, perfect, and thank you. Andre, if I may, from the sort of supply chain side, how do you see this space evolving over the next 3 to 5 years? What are the key elements that you see developing?
I think there is two main aspects. First of all, it's of course flexibility of supply chain, because COVID-19 crisis shows that some stable chains, stable that we think that are stable, was broken, and now producers are looking for new ways of product production and also delivery. I think maybe it will be the trend for some local production, because last 2 years show us that it is not often a good decision to have just one supplier from China, for example. It's better to have some smaller companies all over the world just to support your demand. If you can make delivery from one company, you can split your production for 2 or 3 sites just to support your sales. And also, second one, I think, is traceability. It's a big big value of understanding of how operations are going, which speed you have on all subjects of supply chain. So I think it's about flexibility and traceability, and a lot of decisions just now they support companies with that too.
Great. How important do you see China in sort of the immediate future? Just maybe a short thought on that, only because you had alluded to them.
I think the role of China will stay quite big, but of course it's a big country, about 1.5 billion people, so it can be replaced in once. But of course, I think this stoppage of shipping during COVID-19, of course, it will influence for the future decision of manufacturers. Some of them will be looking for another regions, maybe India or some other South Asia countries. I know that some US producers, they are looking back their production in US just to have more stability there on the local market, because they understand that it's not always stable to have shipping only from China, so they will start to divide the production and the processes, also looking for alternative suppliers. So I think it's the future, but of course, the role of China will stay quite big, but maybe new decision will be made with understanding that it's better to have some alternative ways of
Distribution. Got it. And thank you. Perfect. Aditya, if I may, from the food industry standpoint, how important a role do you see sort of all the acronyms AR, VR, AI, ML, computer vision playing in as disruptive tools in the space?
Yeah, so as you said that the one who owns the data is the king, and I believe that for CPG, what is most important role where ML will play is going to be in managing the demand and understanding the demand. So we saw around COVID, there was before COVID, we were trying to optimize the supply chains to be delivering on time and in full. Once we hit COVID, we realized that our whole supply chain has to change, and it has to be driven more for flexibility and addressability. At the same time, the demand pattern changed. So we discussed that the brick and mortar went down, and you were shipping directly to the customer. So D2C brands came over. They took over, and then you saw that there was demand from a lot of remote villages, tier 3, 4 cities across the country, and these customers obviously they got more connected online on social media platforms, and therefore the demand completely changed. So understanding how our demand is changing is, with the help of data, is going to be the next big thing that I believe that AI and ML could help us with. And then once you have that in place, once you know that your demand management is in place, you could basically digitize the industry, right from manufacturing up to the supply fulfillment to the customer, and work in that manner. So again, saying that, when I say that demand has changed, it has become, obviously the customer requires you to should be able to buy it online, as well as should have the touch and feel at a brick and mortar store. But as Sanjeev mentioned that hyper personalization is going to be one thing. I believe that is where the factories could use vision AI, something like a vision AI, to see where they can make those small changes in their processes to address the consumer. And give them more customization and personalization when they are delivering the product or the value to that customer. So I believe, yeah, that can be a game changer if we're using AI and ML in manufacturing and supply chain.
All right, got it. And to what extent do you think this generative AI will sort of demonstrate its ascendancy? There's so much discussion about ChatGPT these days, and sort of all of it, right? It seems to be in the headline of every news source. To what extent do you think the generative stuff will sort of find its way into our day-to-day consumer behavior?
So obviously, I mean, we are talking about generative AI, and quite honestly, my company is also toying with the idea of creating communication using generative AI. Well, to be very honest, I think it's still in very nascent stage as to how we can basically use that to address the consumer's requirements or demands, I would say. Yes, definitely, that is one space that we are watching very closely. As I said that, the people who are, people are more connected now after COVID, and at the same time, the companies, one of the big, I won't say a pain point, but a big challenge for the companies is to basically chase for digitalization. So every time you have a new technology coming up, smaller companies, I work for a startup, and I feel that sometimes startups have to scramble to catch up with the latest trend. So we are basically watching the trend very closely, but definitely it's still in a nascent stage, and we'll definitely make a move in that if there's an opportunity that we see, shaping up in the future.
Great. Thank you very much. Pankaj, did Akhil join us yet, or is he
He
still?
could not. He just texted me that he's still in the meeting. So yeah, please carry on.
Okay, all right. But I guess I'll just open it up to anybody that sort of, because often, especially when there's ordered questioning, lots of thoughts are sort of revolving in people's minds that they either would say, I should have said this, if that's possible. I doubt it with this August group, but the other thing is, what else would you like to contribute to the nature of this moment and where the discussion is headed?
Probably,
Anybody?
Kevin, I can take a lead probably.
Ganesh, thank you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when we are looking at ML and AI being one of the key trendsetters, and it's going to be the in thing going forward, they have gone beyond from being an emerging trend, and they are fundamentally, changing how the CPG brands and industries understand their customers. So typically with, unimaginable quantum of data available, how we are converting the data into useful information is the most critical one in assessing the customers or end consumers' buying pattern and the behaviors and even the spend patterns. So typically what ML is doing these days, or will be doing more and more prominently, is the brand health analysis, market share research, as well as the category analysis. That's going to be one of the key differentiators of how you position your brand versus your competitor and get that, a marginal positive edge and keep moving forward. And when it comes to AR and VR, probably even metaverse should be added to that. Metaverse is probably the most fancy thing which is happening these days when we are looking at a virtual playground, and it makes the entire buying or shopping very, very experiential. And that's going to be completely a differentiating parameter as we go forward. And probably even at some point in time, it is going to even impact your organoleptic senses. Like probably you can even, get a feel of how it is going to be sensing to you in terms of a look and feel and the taste and odor and aroma. It's the things are moving to that extent. Probably this is going to be one of the big game-changing parameters as we go forward, Kevin. That would be
no
my
doubt. Just to put you on the spot, how soon will metaverse be available to us in some functional way? Not the metaverse in the broadest sense, but sort of the more narrow, where we're connected in a unique way, the way you're describing it. But because I don't want to lead the witness. How soon will metaverse be available to us, do you think?
Metaverse, even though it is existing for quite some time, it's coming to prominence only probably for the last couple of years, and it is still quoted to be in infancy or a very nascent stage. And while the brands are embracing metaverse very, very, eagerly, how to capitalize and get the best of the benefits out of metaverse, consumers are still not used to that so much. Probably if I have to give a percentage, about 70-75% of the brand who are very, very familiar with the metaverse are embracing the technology, whereas consumers, they are still limited to maybe 10-15%. So it's going to be at least a minimum of 2 to 3 years, maybe 2026 is what it is proposed, when metaverse will really rule the roost.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you. Interesting. I mentioned this to Pankaj last week, but I happened to have a discussion with the top Microsoft person in Europe a week or so ago, and he said, he gave me a very interesting stat. He said that Microsoft guarantees 5 to 7% ROI to any company in the world if they infuse all Microsoft's capabilities into their business model, right? Guarantee. And he said, we can't sell it.
Okay.
Because nobody understands technology. He said it's moved to a point where it's sort of, this is to your point about consumers. He said, CEOs, it's only an on or off switch. The technology either works or it doesn't work. They don't really care about sort of the back end and the guts and the features and the benefit. And so I thought it was a really compelling point of view. Just here's a fairly senior person at Microsoft saying nobody understands technology, and it's what he does every hour of every day, right?
Very true. Awareness plays
all of us collectively.
Yeah, awareness plays an important role in driving technology, and there should be a strong leadership vision of every CPG brand and organization, how it is going to have a very, very strategic roadmap for going the digital way or going the innovation way. That's very, very important. Yeah,
exactly. And sort of the issue of benefits have to be abundantly clear, right? In other words, for anybody who's engaging with a technology, especially the newer technologies, benefits need to be so clear that they're palpable and they can hang hats on them and be able to do cost analysis. One of the things that we think about a lot is you can amortize a locomotive, right? Or that you might buy as a company to transport your materials. But new technology is hard to amortize in some sense. They don't necessarily know where to put it in their P&L. And even if they are successful in doing that, how do they measure it over time? And showing definitive ROI remains a challenge for a lot of CEOs worldwide, it seems.
Absolutely. I think I will add another interesting perspective, Kevin. So when we look at how brands and industries are going to look at digital journey or an innovation journey, I mean, they are broadly classified into three categories: the watchers, the explorers, and the visionaries. The watchers typically sit and they talk a lot of digital, but nothing happens. And the explorers are the biggest community who are looking at the ROI and the low-hanging fruits, as you rightly mentioned. And the visionaries are the one to take the first mover advantage and move ahead, and they set the trend and they travel the path which is less traveled. I mean, that's how they differentiate themselves.
Right, right. It's hard to find leaders. Everybody seems to follow rapidly.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, just to ask a package, how are we doing on time? And should we move over to Vision AI as a product?
I think we should take probably one more question and then get into the Vision AI solution and growth session.
Okay, all right. Let's see, where are we? Data. Ganesh, you had talked about inflation as a key element. You know, we all think about things we can control and things we can't control, right? Inflation happens to be one of the beasts that we can't control in some functional global way, right? All we can get our arms around is sort of pricing and how to position and market a product to hopefully address inflation, right? When consumers are spending less or being more cost sensitive to their spending. What other mechanisms, I guess, are available to us to deal with inflation and thinking about new technologies as an aspect of that?
Okay, one is probably the new technology. The conventional way is how immediately one can combat inflation is through alternate sourcing methods. That's something which is very, very prominent, and alternate sourcing methods come with change or tweak of ingredient, change of ratios, a recipe optimization, but it comes with a huge risk of big time marketplace rejection if you don't do it the right way. And that's probably where the ML and AI comes into picture, and they pitch in to do the right way of recipe optimization to ensure that the customer's touch and feel doesn't get lost anywhere in the transit.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. The customer touch and feel is sort of vital to the whole transition of purchase and behavior and loyalty and the whole picture.
Oh yeah, so if I can share an example, just I'll take a minute maybe. Quite some time back, I was working for a cookie manufacturing company where we did a formulation change, and we did a shape change, a format change. And in fact, it was fortified with a lot of vitamins and minerals, etc., etc. So it was promoted as a healthy option. But the pushback what we got from the end consumers were, hey, if I want to really have a vitamin tab, I'll go to the pharmacy and buy a pill. I wouldn't eat your cookie. So you stick to what you are good at. So don't, go beyond what you can do. So these are the very, intricate nuances one should understand about how a consumer would behave when an organization or a brand thinks of innovation. So it's a very, very thin line of caution one should walk, Kevin.
A great storyline. Sanjeev, may I ask you a question? If you were to bet on one new technology developing more rapidly than others in the coming 2 to 3 years, what technology might that be?
I think, 2, 3 things, factors we will take into account when we are, picking a technologies. One is that whether there is a huge capital investment engaged and we have a very limited use case, then probably that would become a very difficult propositions from the investment standpoint. So we look for those use cases which does not require heavy capital investment and make a small pilot and see that how is the success. Now this is something also overcome by some of the companies. What they have done is that even in the case of computer vision, for example, there are companies which are proposing OPEX based model rather than CapEx based model. So if that options is available, I think that is where most of the brands will go after. They will make a less investment. They will do the experiment on a small market, and then they will take a call how to scale it up. So I think the most important things, the way people will look into that, what is the investment required and what is the return on investment, and how fast we can do the experiment. And if it is failed, it is failed, but at least it will be faster in terms of processes.
Great thought. But what is reasonable for a beta test, time-wise?
Sorry, what is the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. So what just from a corporate mindset, what is reasonable for a period of time for a beta test, a pilot?
I think if you are testing for a market, 6 months is probably the maximum time. Organizations would be interesting to do the test. For sure, they want to complete the test and be ready, and at least for the next financial years, they should be able to scale it up. So I would say maximum 6 months, and in some cases, it may be even less than that to do the test.
Okay, and the final question being, what are the 2 or 3 things that during the pilot that are absolutely vital to success?
I think the 2-3 things if we need to pick it up. The first is very, very important is that we have to pick the right market, right size, which can be replicated, have all the characteristics which can give the insights how it is going to work for the other markets. I think that is one thing which definitely look into that.
Yeah.
And then we should definitely look into that. If it is successful, how it is going to be implemented for the rest of the market. So I think those 2 things is very, very critical while doing this experiment with any of these pilots.
Great, thank you. Okay, I guess an open-ended question, just for the last few seconds, is robotics. Completely unrelated to our core business, but just I'm sort of curious as to how vital robotics will be in the coming years. Anybody is welcome to offer a thought. Aditya.
If it's okay, I'll take that question, because when you ask me what is one technology that could be a game changer, so we have been talking in context of a lot of companies have been thinking to diversify their production away from China. But one thing with China is that and China and for that matter India is also is a very labor-intensive market. The labor here is cheap. So if you're moving ahead and moving your factories closer to your consumers in let's say a developed market, I think robotics can do a great job in lowering your costs. So we are already seeing a lot of automation in the warehousing. So pick and place robots, sorting robots, but still you require some kind of human intervention where robotics can definitely play a great role in lowering the costs of operations. Another thing that another technology you can say that can be a game changer is the driverless technology. I mean, even though in emerging countries like India, I mean, I don't see it happening anytime soon. I mean, there's definitely a possibility, but we're still far away from reality in that sense, I would say. But driverless technology can definitely be very helpful if we are doing route optimizations with the and if the infrastructure is in place to be able to deliver material without much of human intervention. So what you've done is basically you've automated robotized your warehouses, and then when you're making those deliveries to your end consumer, I think it'll be a great consumer experience as well, if you can do without, much of human intervention, I would call it, not really interaction.
I heard or read something yesterday that said most of the auto manufacturers worldwide, there are no humans in their warehouses anymore. It's all robotics. And robots talking to other robots.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not really, when I say it's not that we are a labor intensive market, it's not really a great thing for an economy like India as such, but saying that it requires a lot of deep thinking as to how we can upskill the labor so that we can basically optimize our warehouses and our factories with the robots, right? And it's, to be very honest, it's not really a great thing when people talk that, technology is going to kill the jobs and all those things. It's not really, it's one thing to enable the humans to do better or maybe do more intelligible jobs than, what the robots can do. And I see that robots are quite convenient, but they're not really very intelligible as of now, because they're doing very menial jobs like, pick and place, moving the materials and all those things. But definitely a very useful technology for, when you consider the context of a supply chain company or, a lot of big industries.
Understood. Great. And thank you. Perfect.
If I may ask one question, and I'm really curious because CPG industry is something that is pretty innovation friendly, right? But when you look at the startup solutions, when you look at the innovations, what are the biggest hurdle that you see in adoption of those innovations when startups are coming to you and pitching their solutions, right? What are the reasons why you think that, hey, this solution could not succeed well, or this solution may not be the right fit for me, right? So what are those challenges in adoption of those new innovative solutions that you typically see? And probably I may ask, if I may ask Andre to start.
Yes, thank you for the question. From my point of view, always when you speak about innovation, is a question of return on investment for any solution, and of course, in in any different case, you face with the real people who should introduce this solution to life. And of course, when you speak about solutions from startup point of view, for example, from innovator point of view, they know how they want to sell it. But when we talk about people who should introduce it in the real company, there's always a problem, because every company understands the problem from different perspective, and there's always a gap here between vision of company which sells solution and company which try to introduce a solution in their life. So I think the key element is to find a leader inside the company who can run this initiative and to show results inside the company to a person who makes solution for Theo, for example, and also for the team, because team is also very important to have understanding of future result and future benefits, because it's very important to have a motivated team in introduction of any new solution, because people always think about new, that is something that will change. It's hard, it's not obvious for them. So leaders inside the company is always important to build a future for any new solution which company integrated.
That's really interesting. I mean, we always hear about ROI, that ROI has to be there, but we also often hear concerns from the innovation leaders from the Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 organizations that startups came up with a fantastic solution, but they were so obsessed about their own solution that their messaging was not really focused on what our problem statements are, what our ecosystem is requiring for, and things of that nature. So it's important that you have to build an influencer or probably an ambassador within that organization, so that the messaging could be translated well to the internal leaders, and the solutions value proposition could be translated well within that organization.
Yeah, because you are fully true, because even inside one company you can see the problem from different perspective, and of course it's always a gap between startup and also company who should introduce this decision to their staff. So it's always important to have, it's better not one or two, but a group of leaders inside the company who will translate the decision and the benefits from the new decisions to the company, because it's of course it's always about ROI, but it's also about selling this solution inside the company to the people and to show all benefits, not only money but also the value for the day-to-day operations.
Fantastic. And I mean, again, this is a really, really interesting and insightful discussion that we are having at the moment. And I would love to keep going, but we'll have to move on to the next part of the event, which is roast session. And I had multiple questions like, what is the impact of NFT, or if anybody is experimenting with NFT in the CPG space and things of that nature. So those obviously crazy questions were there in my mind. But now the second part of the event is roast session, where Jorge, another co-founder of Vision, will present Vision solution for 5 minutes, and then we'll take feedback, direct questions, and brutal feedback from your side. Why we do this roast session? Because most of the time startups don't get that brutal feedback from industry experts. Either they get a sugar-coated BS, or they just don't get anything, which doesn't really help. If startups really want to grow, they will have to learn from direct feedback, grow and improve, right? So Jorge, may I request you to present your screen, share your screen, and take us through the solution?
Sure, Pankaj, thank you. And yes, very, very interesting dynamic so far in this event. So I appreciate everyone's time and engagement. So here we go. You can all see my screen, right?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Awesome. So our product, it's Vision AI video analytics made simple. And what's a problem that we're tackling? There are over 1 billion surveillance cameras in the private sector worldwide, and only 1% it's being monitored. And moreover, companies worldwide use inefficient or inaccurate human methods for monitoring and gathering critical relevant data needed for change, safety, and profitability of their business, just like this person here, right? The solution is Vision AI, which is a B2B software product that integrates cutting-edge computer vision and AI capabilities to existing IP cameras or CCTV systems to help companies analyze and measure key operations to uncover and qualify or quantify relevant data. We focus on retail, logistics, roads and highways, as well as manufacturing plants. That's where we've had success cases so far. So why now? There's an increasing demand for automation and efficiency that can lead business to save time and resources to improve their decision-making process. Artificial intelligence can now mimic human behavior faster and more reliably, So companies are often to explore these applications now. And as you can see, the growth, this is a very conservative growth chart within the next 5 years. What functionalities do we offer at Vision AI? And then we will translate these into benefits for the companies, right? But we can do people counting, alerts based on number of people, based on zones, based on schedules or timings. We can do vehicle counting. We can do plate identification. We can send alerts based on number of vehicles, of maybe an unwanted ID plate or vehicle. We can do security gate bypass detection. This talking about again about people. We can do facial recognition. We can do heat mapping on floors. We can do path tracking. We can do curtain management on warehouses and distribution centers. We can do people segmentation, emotion detection, and of course, we continue to develop these type of functionalities, right? So these are the functionalities, but how do they translate to companies when they to benefits in companies actually applying these or using Vision AI? The benefits are such as you can reduce theft, you can minimize accidents, you can uncover unwanted actions that with other methods go undetected. You can identify unauthorized access and gatherings. You can recognize people flow and also their demographics, talking specifically about CPG. The platform or Vision AI provides actionable data, delivers real-time alerts, tracks floor operations, can identify unlawful vehicles, and it offers uninterrupted surveillance. Our target market, right now, our final users are in these industries, logistics and warehousing, retail, roads and highways, and manufacturing companies. And we're currently looking for channel partners to distribute the product or customers willing to pilot the technology. Our market validation so far, we've generated over 1.5 million in revenues with this product. AB InBev in Mexico, we have implemented Vision AI in 2 of their manufacturing plants. Safety related, that's what they're looking for to reduce accidents. We have a pilot test with Walmart Mexico as well, both in distribution centers and stores. Grupo Morsa, they're a auto part car auto part distributor, and they have been using our solution for the last almost 2 years now, year and a half, in 21 distribution centers. And RCO, they're the leading highway developer in Western Mexico. They have implemented our solution in 12 different lanes in 2 different toll booth locations. So how do we sell this product? We have the first one, and it's an edge solution where we look for channel partners for distribution. And the current solution, well, this is the preferred solution for enterprise companies that we've seen so far, because somehow they like to keep their data locally, and that's what we've seen so far, right? So the project, the pricing for these type of projects, it's project based on locations, number of cameras, analytics. If we have to do some customization to what we're already offering, that it's very common right now. And the work in progress that we have, it's offering our platform as a software as a service, where we would be targeting small and medium businesses with 1 to 5, locations or plants and 1 decision maker. And there, the pricing is $145 per camera per month. This our team, or the team behind Vision AI. We're the founders. Myself, I've been in this new technology business for over 10 years. I have a Harvard Business specialization in strategy and one previous exit. Kevin, of course, you know Kevin, and Victor, which we have here with us as well. He has a master's at computer science, 6 years experience in leading software development, designing and managing computer vision artificial intelligence project that actually led to then forming Vision AI. And he's the inventor of a couple of patents in process that we have. Now I would like to show you a brief video of the solution working. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Video. Okay, here we go.
Vision AI offers a web-based VMS that includes powerful features, for example, a health panel, live streaming capabilities, and real-time WhatsApp alerts. Our platform provides a range of AI functions, such as heat map and path tracking, as well as PPE identification and counting. Our platform also includes a customizable dashboard for displaying key analytics and insights. In addition, offers a sophisticated real-time content management system for warehouses, an LPR system for tracking and monitoring vehicle verification compliance. This feature is particularly useful for organizations such as the Jalisco Environment Secretary.
Okay. Sorry to ask again, but could you see the video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, so that's Vision AI, and happy to take questions and feedback from the panel.
I think I would be concerned that in typical computer vision, some of the concerns that probably come from the customers from the implementation standpoint is.
I'm sorry, Sanjeev.
Sanjeev, you weren't very audible.
I can't hear you very well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Better, much better.
Okay. So my question, George, is typically, most of the customer ask about, GDPR compliant as far as the, computer visions or video analytics, system is concerned. So how do you think that, this can be addressed? I'm sure in countries like LATAM and others, it is, much better and more relaxed, and I think it can be worked quite well. But how do you see that in other geographies, especially in Europe?
You're talking about privacy compliance?
That is correct.
Yes. So we don't actually track information from individuals, right? We track general information that it's happening on an environment, right? We can put a tag on people, but we do not know who that people is, right? Or we do not match. Well, in Latin America, as you say, it's more relaxed, and we've had several requests of, hey, can I give you a facial database, and can you match it? We could do it, but we leave that out of the general implementation with of the solution with other customers and in other regions. So I don't know if this answers your question. It's more like general data that we track more than specific and individual personal data that we follow and track.
Just a follow-up question on that, George. So, for example, a consumer A enters into, let's say, stores, and you recognize, his demographic profile. It's a, female, 25, 35 years of age, etc. And then, it helps stores to act accordingly, what promotions they need to place, what needs to be done, and they can do that. let's assume that the same profile or same person, comes after 3 days in the store. Will your system be able to recognize that it's the same profile? She came 3 days before, she bought this, so I can, propose these are the product as a promotions. Is it possible to do that if we are not storing the actual profile of the people and only, certain data points?
We could do that on the request, but right now we don't do it. The generals, even in Latin America or in Mexico, companies such as Walmart, they can tell you, you're entering a space that has CCTV cameras, right? And so we comply with that, right? We don't store individual information. So if Walmart somehow or another retail company could say, I want to know if specific customers are coming back and what they bought or where they transit the store the last time, we could, but we don't do it now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, if I may, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Okay, so it's more from a technology perspective. Have you also explored connected solutions being integrated with your computer vision? What I mean by a connected solution is probably a connected worker. So we have talked of, in your presentation, you spoke of, path tracking, etc., etc. So would it make more sense that you make it more connected through probably a lone worker tracking, for example, in a huge field or a plantation where you really want to track a lone worker, which is going to be a hazard in terms of not being attended? Have you explored those kind of options? Probably, if I look at it from a store's perspective, consumer entering a store would be having a chip given to him or her. And with additional, HoloLens, etc., the experiential shopping becomes far more better with this integration of, connected solutions. Am I clear?
I didn't get connected to what?
Computer vision plus connected solution. Like, if I have to wear a protective jacket, so it's got a embedded Wi-Fi enabled device which tracks me through the entire area of my movement, and it is backed up with your computer vision so that probably health tracking can be possible through that. Like if I'm going to climb the stairs, this is going to monitor my blood pressure, my giddiness, if I'm maintaining good health, and that backed up with the computer vision could be more of a powerful combo. That's what my thought was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So far we have not explored that option. Integrated with other systems or other type of hardware or as you say, wearable.
Yeah.
We have not. We have tried the computer vision solution on smart glasses.
Okay.
So for example, a person wearing smart glasses, which are no different than an Android phone, for example, and run computer vision through the glasses. That we have done and that we could do, but other than that, we haven't done any other type of integration.
Probably smart wearables could be the next step of your own innovation cycle, is what I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. We're longtime partners with Epson, and they have these glasses called Epson Moverio.
Okay.
We've also worked with RealWear. So yes, definitely it's possible, and we could explore that option as well.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Anish.
Aditya, any questions about the product itself?
Yeah, I do actually. So it's a very interesting product, and certainly I have a lot of ideas in my head, and I wanted to check with you as to how we can maybe use product at, let's say, a farm in India, and what could be, useful to, let's say, a corporate office sitting in a tier 1 city, and the farm is located in a remote location, and how can the solution be implemented there?
As far as infrastructure, we need the basic infrastructure, cameras connected to that have Wi-Fi access. Once we have that, we could track the farmers. We can measure, how many times a day they're working, if they go to the bathroom quite a lot, if they spend a lot of time there. We're actually in talks with a potential partner in South Africa. It's been very educational. He says, here in South Africa we have these problems with one with safety, but the other one with the moral quality of the workers, right? So we want to start with very, very basic stuff like all right, if I'm paying you 8 hours per day per work, how many hours were actually working, right? And how long how many hours did you lose either talking, chatting, gathering with other people, eating, whatever. So if that's the kind of question that you're asking, yes, we could track farmers in remote areas as long as the infrastructure is there. Yes, you could monitor there from a tier 1 city. That's completely possible.
Right. I was also thinking of it from a crop monitoring perspective. So yeah, I mean, this could be more real time and more useful. Because we've seen, like, for our farms where we grow stevia, we've seen that, even a day's delay in basically checking the crops could be very could cause huge damage to the complete crop itself, and in turn to the revenue of the company. So from the crop monitoring perspective, I think this could be a game changer, because right now we do have certain solutions which use satellite imagery, but we do not really have a solution which could be used to monitor a farm remotely and do a day-to-day basis of reporting.
We had a very similar request from Mexico, a very large company called Riscol, and they do berries. And berries are very distinctive in color when they're ready. I mean, and this is what I mean by customizing the product. We have the capabilities to customize the product. We're right now focusing on areas where we have had more success or traction. But if it's the right opportunity and we have the right partner, yes, we have the capabilities to implement something to track crops, as you say.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, if I may add to this, it's a very interesting point, Aditya, what you just mentioned in terms of crop monitoring, or I mean, we would probably put it as a digital farming. I wouldn't know the exact taxonomy of stevia, but there are a lot of crops which will, require a very specific amount of irrigation from a water supply perspective, where we need to probably have those, systems and IoT connected devices, which monitors the moisture content of the plant from the leaves. It includes even a machine vision, like, the color of the leaf, then you start your irrigation accordingly. And that's, in fact, especially when you're looking at water conservation and sustainable farming, it will be self-generating, regenerating systems. So this is something, okay, I mean, I thought I'll add on to that from a digital farming perspective.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's certainly one thing. I mean, a remotely managed farm could also be a very because we've seen, like, India was I mean, it is an agriculture economy, but a lot of people are moving away from doing the actual farming,
Traditional farming. Yeah,
it is one area where the youth basically doesn't really want to spend its time on a farm, right? They want to move away to a bigger city And for people who are already in the city, farm is something that they would really like to keep because that's their roots. But managing those farms remotely, and I think this technology can be really useful. So I'll
Absolutely.
definitely,
Spot on.
yeah, I'll definitely make a note of it.
You know, it's really interesting that you're sort of giving us a whole different categorical sort of break. We tend to think of sort of, or came into the conversation thinking about manufacturing, logistics, and retail, that continuum. This thought where we are right now is sort of on the farm. It's at the very beginning of the process, right? Before you start to move through how we've been thinking about the product. So it's a really interesting concept to develop. And the good news is, Jorge points out, we can make it happen. It's a question of sort of, who can we implement with and how can we make it work, and, pilot programs, et cetera, et cetera. But thanks for the idea. It's a very good idea.
Thank you.
Great.
The next questions is around, coming back to the manufacturing plant. So, most of the CPG companies, to ensure that quality of the product in terms of the thickness of the product, in terms of the size of the product, this is very, very critical items for them. And obviously in a very fast moving, lines, it is almost impossible for human to observe that and take actions. So I was just wondering that, your solution or product would be able to, give insight in terms of the dimensions of the product when the line speed is very, very high. Or if the answer is yes, then does it require, solutions like 5G or something like that for the low latency perspective, high latency perspective? So how do you see that, George? Do you think that this is one area where your product can fit into or can be customized for these requirements?
Yes, it could be customized. I mean, we're currently not pursuing, production lines in manufacturing spaces. For example, Anheuser-Busch, they currently track how many accidents they have in a certain period of time, right? And their main goal is to make it 0 accidents a year. That's their main goal. But they keep having accidents. So then they reached out and they said, hey, can we use your solution to track how many dangerous or hazardous activities happen that not necessarily translate into accidents, right? A very specific example, people going under conveyor belts, right? Because the bathroom is there, the conveyor belt is here, and hey, I'm just going to go below it, right? So they ask us to track those specific human behaviors, and that's what they're using. Or for example, people going under a lift and not doing the lotto procedure, the safety procedure to go into the lift before going in, or a very dangerous area because it's too hot and somebody and you cannot be there, or you shouldn't be in a specific area. So they mark that area on the cameras, and if somebody crosses to that area, then an alert it's sent, and obviously that's what and an analytic is generated out of that action, right? So those are the type of actions that we're tracking on the manufacturing with the manufacturing companies right now. We could do, I mean, if we had the capabilities to customize and do what you're requesting, the answer is yes. But we know other companies, actually, one here that it's in EthAum's portfolio that actually does that better, and they're farther downstream. But yes, we could do it, Sanjeev.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, I have a point to add on to this. You spoke of, people tracking the conveyor and somebody sneaking below the conveyor for using the washroom. Can it also, get applied to an access controller, restricted access? For example, I'm a maintenance engineer. I'm qualified to attend to a particular process equipment, and I'm only qualified. Somebody else is not qualified. So will the camera vision, the computer vision, will be able to distinguish between these two capable or authorized and unauthorized personnel to attend to a particular process machinery?
Yes, there are, and there are two ways.
Okay.
One is through a facial database that
Okay.
actually knows that Jorge is Jorge, and Jorge cannot go there, right? Or shouldn't be operating that machine. That can be done. The other option that that actually Anheuser-Busch asked us, is they wear different color vests.
Yes.
We can track that, and we can determine whether somebody should or should not be in the production line or in the warehouse or in the bottling department, for example. So yes, we're doing that. We're also doing, for example, for the bottling department, they now need to wear safety sleeves, because if a bottle drops, and they can create cuts. So it can create cuts. So if somebody goes into the bottling area without safety sleeves, we send an alert, and obviously we track, and we that part of the video we store, Sanjeev, to your questions earlier, right? So if a business rule is broken, or it's broken by the company's interest, yes, we can keep information. We can storage information.
Great. One of the interesting anecdotes to be added onto this, Jorge, is that, during the pandemic time, when everyone is expected to maintain a social distancing, and there is this Proximus, which is actually tracking people clustering together and gives an alert. So probably that's a very good extension of what you just spoke about.
Yes, definitely. Another current example that we're using that clustering or gathering, it's with Walmart at their shipping docks.
Okay.
There shouldn't be more than 2 people together for more than 1 minute. If there's 3 people gathering, we recognize it. We send an alert.
Okay.
If there's 5 people in whatever time, then we send an alert, and we keep the video of that particular moment, because they think that they might be doing something that they shouldn't, being close to the shipping docks and all these merchandise. So that's another thing that we use gathering for.
Yeah, and the interesting part in this Proximus is it doesn't sense only the people clustering. It also kind of measures the distance. So if they are too close, it gives an alert. If they are far away, say, the mandated distance, it even measures the distance and gets you a green signal. So that's probably computer vision integrated with some kind of an arithmetic. Probably there is a logic behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We can do it. And sorry, we have a question here in the chat. Can we do card tracking at VIN level in a yard of few acres? VIN.
Yeah,
sorry,
I believe it's vehicle identification number.
Number. That's right.
Yeah. Here we. We say that we can I mean, if the human eyes can see it, our software can see it. So if we have a 30 megapixel camera that can see the plates at that distance, then yes, we can recognize it. If we have a 1.2 megapixel camera in several hundred yards away, then most likely not. If the human eye can see it, or well, let's put it this way, if the camera has enough definition as to recognize or to clearly see the numbers on a plate, yes, we can see it. We actually have RCO, the highway manufacturing in Western Mexico. They have very good quality cameras, so we can track IV plates at very high distance. But it's more related to the camera quality or image quality than the software itself. Ganesh.
Yeah, hi. So that leads to a very interesting perspective, this VIN identification through, the computer vision. Have you also explored, Auge and Kevin, that instead of the fixed cameras, say, for example, it's an acres of, a huge land, we don't need to have multiple cameras positioned across as a fixed infrastructure. You erect structures, put cameras over there. Have you tried to work on the, drone-based cameras, which are more mobile, which can have a better access and reach? Have you thought of those aspects?
We have not, because we're more focused on enclosed spaces right now.
Okay.
But it's exactly the same mechanism or example that with the smart glasses that I was sharing with you earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I mean the same mechanism, and yes, we could put computer vision capabilities on a drone camera for sure.
Solar powered drone doesn't consume any power, sustainable solution. That adds to a lot of interesting aspects of the whole proposal.
Totally.
And for example, in that particular case, remote areas, right? You have a drone, but the drone might not have Wi-Fi connectivity in those remote areas. The drone can do a video recording, come back, we download the video, then we analyze the video. I mean, it's not real time, but that could happen, but that could work as well.
Very, very interesting anecdote, which I recently read in one of the, online flash newses, that somebody who got stranded in an unknown XYZ place did not have mobile access. There is no data. He couldn't send a short message, SMS. So he used a drone to connect. He sent the message, you put it onto a drone, sent it out. And once it reached an accessible network-worthy place, the message got sent and he was saved. I mean, that's really an out-of-box thinking how technology can come into, survival.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, actually. Andre, may I go back to you for you had raised an interesting point about decision makers and sort of within companies. And maybe this is a question for all of you in some sense, is at what level or where do the decision makers for new technologies hide in corporations, right? Because finding them is its own puzzle, right? When we have our SaaS product, they'll find us and they'll buy the product and they'll be able to totally digital experience. But for the time being, and certainly with our Edge product, who is the decision maker? I mean, it seems varied by company, so acknowledging that, but what titles are important to reach out to in order to for them to buy new technologies, and most specifically Vision AI, if I may?
From my point of view, if we speak about systems like Vision AI, I see two different points of contacts. First of all, of course, it's direct manufacturing, and I see that, for example, as InBev in Mexico, I think they can make a separate decision from other corporation and to introduce Vision AI. So I think the same situation with all other corporations, because from my perspective, systems that can increase safety on manufacturing, can make manufacturing place more safe and more traceable. It can be a decision on place. For example, it's decision inside country and so on. And other point of contact is, of course, head office. If we speak about this decision in general. For example, if we speak about a good case in Mexico, we can try to go to Mexican office to headquarters and say, hey, we have a good case in Mexico with our system. It can be also be implemented on other markets. So I think with support of local Mexican office, this decision can be implemented on corporation level.
Mhm.
So, but it depends from the system. For Vision AI, I think that both local decision and also head office decision could take place.
Got it. Great thought. Thank you. Anybody else have wisdom on where the decision makers reside?
I think there should be an empowered digital officer. I mean, that's probably a fancy designation one would have. And he or she should be empowered to take the right decisions, and which is backed up with, a digital maturity model, digital maturity index assessment. And finally, you create a roadmap for how your journey is going to be. And that person should be the champion for driving all the decisions and ably supported by top leadership as well as down the line. I mean, that's probably a workable model, Kevin.
Got it. That's helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
So nowadays we have corporate innovation leaders or digital transformation leaders, and most of the major CPG companies. And their primary role is to find out what are the innovative startups in different parts of the world, collect all the problem statements from different BUs within their own organization, and run different kind of initiatives to find those innovative startups. So yeah, that happens a lot nowadays. But yeah, digital transformation leaders are capable to do a pilot with the startups, but then the ultimate decision reside with the BU leaders whether they want to do the full implementation or not after that pilot. So,
Got it.
okay.
Cool.
Any other comment, question, feedback for Kevin and Jorge?
It's been a very engaging discussion, I would say. It was very free-flowing, a lot of insight shared, knowledge gain, knowledge shared, both ways. So pretty much happy, and it was a pleasure being in this discussion, Kevin and Jorge. And of course,
Thank you. Thank you, Ganesh. That's a high compliment coming from you, sir. So thank you.
Pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks everybody. Again, as Ganesh mentioned, this discussion has been extremely insightful, and I love that how interactive it was, very free flow. Again, I think this is not the end of this relationship. This is just the beginning. We should reconnect in a few weeks and see how we can collaborate, how we can help each other, and take it from there.
Absolutely.
Obviously, if Vision AI or EthAum can help you with your agendas, with your pain points, then that would be extremely exciting. Again, really appreciate everybody's time today. Thanks to Kevin and Jorge for managing the event really well, so well. Thanks to Andre, Ganesh, Aditya, and Sanjeev for your insightful feedback. And we'll reconnect soon. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.